I, uh, someone I know died very suddenly, not somebody that I was close to, but somebody that I was connected to through work. And
Well, it seemed sudden, we know, although
yeah,
this individual was trending. It really doesn't come out of the blue. It just appears that way through physical perception.
yes. Suffice to say, nobody in my sphere of, experience was expecting it at all. And I struggled with this person, with most of the things they said and did, and most of my experiences. And so I've been, being sort of respectful and quiet.
And it's
And
celebrating quietly. We're playing.
yes, I mean, to the
But we're
degree
not
that,
playing with you because there's much to be celebrated, and the one of which you are speaking is celebrating. We're just going to jump in and say the one of which you are speaking can be experienced by you now in a complete release of the resistance that made this one so challenging for not only you, but those in your sphere to interface with. So it's a beautiful way to release all of that, if any of it hangs on, if there's a residue of the irritation or frustration, which it's logical that there would be some. We feel, from our perspective, it's very nice to know, I could just celebrate the release of resistance that was challenging to this one that I am speaking of enough that he then challenged those around him.
yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, it's not something I've been struggling deeply with. I've been making observations and thinking thoughts, but I have observed, and I've observed this before too, people around me feel very enthusiastic about saying, like jumping on the, what an amazing person. Oh, how handsome, how inspiring. He was always on our side. Saying things I know that they didn't mean a moment ago. And then sometimes saying things that are maybe true, but that they wouldn't have said a week ago. And so I guess part of me wonders, like, if there is something positive to say, why would you only want to say it after the person is no longer in their physical form? And if it is not true, then why do so many people feel inclined to say things that are not true to feel a positive connection to someone in death that they did not feel in life? Like, why do we so radically change our thoughts and feelings about a person? Also, I've been witnessing people feeling badly about not liking this person beforehand, and then on that term, like if every creature on the planet will leave this physical form, are we never to draw a boundary or hold someone to a standard because they might die?
You're asking a lot of big questions, really, and we jumped in early on to answer some of it, which we want to be reassuring in that whether human friends know it or not, you're all intuitive, you're all psychic, you're all telepathic, and you're all in constant conversation, even in a way that you would consider to be subconsciously, with what you would call the other side, the non-physical side. So it is much easier once that resistance that makes a person develop and practice a difficult personality, once that really has dissipated from focused human form, it is easier to focus on the pure positive energy that they are. So it's not as though everyone is being deceitful per se in what they are now experiencing. They wouldn't be able to explain it to you if you were to ask them in the way that we are explaining it, that they are now tapped into the non-physical version of this person and in real time experiencing them in a brand new, refreshed setting sort of way. But that is, in many cases, what is going on. And that answers one of your questions from a few different angles. And it demonstrates that often friends are saying and thinking and feeling things that they don't understand at all. They don't understand why they're doing it. They don't understand the impulses that they're feeling. They haven't really been practicing following their impulses in an intentional way up to that point. And then something that is a big energetic shift comes along, and they just sort of knee-jerk their way into saying things that they do mean, but they don't understand why they mean it, and they haven't been trending that way, which is logical because they've been focused on the physical person to the exclusion, in many cases, of the non-physical personality, let's say. And so that answers part of it. Another question that you're posing here is a big question that we want to distill down to a pretty simple answer, which is that most physical human friends don't have a good handle on the death experience to the extent that they are really at odds with it and terrified of it. So they speak from a place of fear and insecurity because they are aware now in the experiencing of the death of another that they are mortal. So it brings a lot up. Many who change their story are doing it, well, everybody's doing it. This is some of the, we'll call it lack of focus that we're talking about here, where nobody's been as intentional as is satisfying to them day in, day out. And so they're a little spasmodic in the way that they respond. Some of it is because they're vibing the non-physical essence of this perfect energy. And some of it is because they're so terrified of death that they want to start earning brownie points for when they feel death will come to them. And it's good for you all to understand death is not a party crasher. Death doesn't come uninvited. You're always in on it. As we mentioned with this friend who, from all of your perspective, died suddenly, it was similarly sudden to this friend who was not paying attention to his own vibration, but his source self had been in on it for a while. And it really was his path of greatest allowing as a next step in his evolution. So what we feel is useful to say to you and to all of you is that you are entitled always, not just in the relationship to the physical death experience of another, but at all times, you are entitled to have whatever thoughts and opinions you desire, even if it's not the trend, and even if it's not the popular opinion, and even if everybody's waffling in their confusion, you don't have to put your name on that list. We feel that this is really at the heart of what you're asking, maybe beyond what you're even aware of. This is your entitlement at all times. You don't have to cast the popular vote in order to be valid in your perspective. You can be and do and have whatever you want, and you can think and say and mean whatever you want in response to all that is taking place. And so if you feel that you are sort of on the outside looking in at others' behavior in this situation, well, it can't be that far away from how you're feeling in general when you're relating to these people in the sphere of which you speak. And we want you to know that that's a really, really, really good thing from our perspective, knowing that you came forth to be an individual in your physical experience. You didn't come to blend into the masses. Not one of you really came in with that intention. This is a great focusing opportunity for you to be clearer than you've ever been, which is not because you haven't been clear enough so far, but because every moment is an opportunity to be clearer than you've ever been, because there's more to be clear about, that you are entitled, let's say simply, to be you.
I didn't even know that I asked some of the questions that you answered, but I did ask them, and thank you. You answered them. Thank you.
Really good. Really fun. Always good to start a group like this with a hearty conversation about death, we feel. That's a great way to warm up the crowd. So good co-creation there.